Welcome to the Career Pathways for Individuals with Disabilities, or CPID, Demonstration Projects Introduction Webinar, CPID, Overview, Purpose, Activities, and Outcomes. This presentation is intended to be part of the Rehabilitation Services Administration's Virtual Results Conference. I am Dr. Rob Froelich, and I am a collaborator with the CPID projects. Throughout our presentation, we want to share our experiences and some factors that we believe other agencies would want to consider when infusing a career pathways focus or approach into their operations. To that end, we will share some additional resources and contact information for further investigation. At the conclusion of our presentation, we will share some information about future webinar plans. A good place for us to begin is to share the purpose of the CPID model demonstration projects. That purpose, as detailed by the Rehabilitation Services Administration, is to demonstrate promising practices in the use of career pathways in order to improve employment outcomes for individuals with disabilities. Specifically, the projects are designed to promote state VR agency partnerships in the development of and the use of career pathways to help individuals with disabilities eligible for VR services, including youth with disabilities, to acquire marketable skills and recognized post-secondary credentials and secure competitive integrated employment in high-demand, high-quality occupations. I'd like to give you a bit more context by sharing some background information. Grant funding was awarded to 4 state vocational rehabilitation agencies. Each agency was essentially tasked with answering the same question: can you demonstrate how to use a career pathways model within VR? All projects use the same WIOA building blocks, including WIOA definitions, the provision of skills and education, collaboration with workforce partners, and extensive career counseling. Those building blocks are apparent in the structuring and prioritization used by the projects, but there are 4 distinct projects in the end. My co-presenters for today include Dr. Lee Bryan, Career Pathways for Georgia, Helga Gilbert, Kentucky's Project CASE, Janet Drudick, Nebraska's VR Career Pathway Advancement Project, or CPID, and Kate Kagi, Virginia's Career Pathways for Individuals with Disabilities project. At this point, I'm going to turn things over to my friend Janet Drudick. Janet, would you mind talking a bit about some common constructs related to the CPID projects?
I would be happy to do that, Rob. Thank you very much. Each of the 4 grantees identified high-wage, high-demand career pathways relevant to their states. States worked with businesses, community partners, and educational institutions to promote the various career pathways in their states. As you can see, all states identified manufacturing as a career pathway. In addition, Kentucky, Nebraska, and Virginia chose healthcare and information technology. Nebraska and Virginia also chose transportation, distribution, and logistics. Nebraska included the architecture and construction career pathways, and Virginia also selected the auto mechanics and welding areas. Some states worked with students and others with adults, but the goal of all states was to obtain credentials. Thus far, the 4 states documented attainment of 1,094 industry-recognized credentials. This was completed by expanding the number of students and/or adults with disabilities participating in existing career pathways or newly developed career pathways, by increasing the number of credentials realized by individuals with disabilities, ensuring the legacy of the grant effort through staff training and processes to support a VR culture of career development and credential attainment versus job placement, and enhancing the role of all VR staff in the integration of best practice case management to sustain a culture of career development within the VR program. The goal of all states were to enhance the relationship with workforce partners and educational institutions. This may have looked differently depending upon the state. However, all CPID grantees provided outreach and developed enhanced partnerships with workforce partners in some capacity. For example, Kentucky hired 3 of the pathway coordinators and a supervisor through Kentuckiana workforce area, so Kentucky had partner input from the very beginning. Depending upon the state, these partnerships included adult education, Department of Labor, participating with career pathway boards, and working with many additional WIOA partners. Relationships with educational partners were key in credential attainment. CPID grantees participated with workforce partners and educational institutions for such activities as reverse job fairs, organizing grant events, co-enrolling job seekers, training through WIOA partners, customized trainings, and tours of educational institutions. Each state knew the importance of the dual customer approach and promoting career pathways not just with the client, but also with businesses. States chose different avenues to engage businesses. However, the success of promoting career pathways through business was crucial to the demand side of the equation for each grantee. All states chose to participate in industry-specific academies and industry tours. These may have included client informational interviews and discussing credentials needed within the career pathways. Businesses assist job seekers in understanding entrance and exit points as it relates to their industry. Some states use business service teams or business account managers to assist in working with businesses, developing relationships, and customizing training programs. Some states provided lean accessibility program assessments and or ergonomic assessments for businesses. Client workstations were also assessed. States may have chosen to provide training such as Section 503, ADA, disability awareness, and disability etiquette trainings. Nebraska worked with businesses to advance their incumbent workers through their upskill backfill model. States worked with businesses in various capacities, and job seekers and businesses benefited not only during this grant cycle, but the relationships will continue to be sustained after grant funding is no longer available. Business-driven, short-term, real-life trainings provided both technical, hard skills, and soft skills training, giving workers the opportunity to acquire the skills they need to pursue in-demand jobs and careers. These partnerships were developed through relationships with businesses and community partners. Pre-apprenticeship programs and customized training programs were developed or sustained with grant funding. These programs include the great work in Virginia with the Hershey Boot Camp, the pre-apprenticeship and credential training program at Wilson Workforce Rehabilitation Center, and also Virginia's welding and logistics training. Nebraska continued their VR certificate programs in the area of CNA and electrical helper. All states have been involved in outreach to their state's VR agencies and working with VR staff. Grantees provided training to VR staff through presentations, training materials, outreach with marketing materials, and articles in VR internal newsletters. All states participated in discussion with VR staff regarding the career pathways model. Georgia implemented the bi-weekly transition talk to share information and provide training to VR staff. They also introduced an agency transition website with a central focus on career pathways. Virginia staff were trained in motivational interviewing and developed a career pathway website.
Thanks, Janet, for that comprehensive overview. One of the resources we have attached via a link on the final slide of this presentation is a chart detailing the distinctive features of the 4 projects. You can find a great deal more information in the chart, but in short, Nebraska used the upskill backfill model. My colleague Janet Drudick will detail this shortly. Virginia focused on staffing subject matter experts to support career pathway efforts. Kentucky focused on the career pathway coordinator role, and Georgia focused on the high school population. At this point, we'd like to share some information with you all pertaining to each CPID project and topics such as outcomes, systems change, and sustainability. Overall, since fiscal year 2016, the 4 CPID grantees have served 4,554 individuals with disabilities, including transition-age students and youth, have accessed 103 distinct pathways in the 6 major occupational clusters of advanced manufacturing, healthcare, information technology, construction and architecture, and transportation, distribution, and logistics, and have enabled 485 individuals to achieve competitive integrated employment outcomes, almost half of which, 48%, included employer-provided health insurance. Now we will hear a bit more about each of the individual projects. Let's begin with Dr. Lee Bryan and the Career Pathways for Georgia project.
Thank you, Rob. The Career Pathways for Georgia project has allowed our agency to reflect on the continuum of VR services related to career pathways. We've recognized the importance of maximizing the continuum of VR services from exposure through career pathway participation to support the career readiness of students with disabilities. The continuum of VR services offer many opportunities from pre-employment transition services through transition services for students to explore, plan, and complete career pathways. The Career Pathways for Georgia project has also highlighted a number of important factors. Within our organization, the culture of VR has to be one of career readiness versus solely job placement. Staff must have the knowledge, the training, to be able to apply skills in case management that support student participation in career pathways. The Transition Talk bi-weekly platform has made a tremendous impact on this process because it not only allows information to be shared, but helps establish a culture that is supportive of career readiness. Local educational planning with the local educational agency, the LEA, we have found to be critical for there to be a collaborative approach to career pathway planning and student completing of pathways. Finally, the essential relationship with students and families so that they are on board and aware of the importance of career pathways and how vocational rehabilitation services can be a part of supporting and helping students realizing their goals within career pathways. The project has also highlighted the critical partnership necessary with the Georgia Department of Education, specifically career technical, and here in Georgia, agricultural education, and the role of the career technical instructors. These individuals work with special education students participating in career technical and agricultural education here in Georgia, and this powerful relationship that can be established between the VR professional staff and the CTI instructor can be a valuable partnership in helping students have the supports they need to successfully complete career pathways. Here in Georgia, we want the legacy of the grant to demonstrate that processes and procedures must support a culture shift from job placement to career development. Project team roles will set the tone of expectation for VR transition staff statewide. We also want to be sure that we're fostering a strong and permanent collaboration within VR and the career technical and agricultural education staff at the local education agencies to support increased student access to career pathways. Lastly, staff training to not only understand career pathways, access, and the completion expectations, but also supporting students through the continuum of VR services is also an important legacy of this project. At this point in the 5th year of the project, we have 353 recognized post-secondary credentials obtained by participants. We are hopeful that the number of post-secondary credentials will continue to increase over the remaining months of the 5th year of the grant. Participants have accessed 40 career pathways offered in school districts throughout Georgia.
Thanks so much, Lee. Next up, my colleague Helga Gilbert will tell us about Kentucky's project case.
Thank you, Rob. Implementing a career pathways focus in your VR agency means really committing to collaborating with your core WIOA partners around sector-based initiatives. 2 of the state's workforce investment boards worked with us from the very beginning to hire the course grant staff, who we called Career Pathways Coordinators. Understanding the connecting role they played became a key feature of the grant. Through these staff, Kentucky essentially learned by doing and understanding the partner programs and sector initiatives. They helped navigate the first VR consumers through Workforce Partner short-term sector training programs in manufacturing and IT, and they co-enrolled the first VR consumers in WIOA youth internship programs. But they also organized many dynamic events, benefiting our own agency staff as well as the wider workforce system of community partners, employers, and educators. Our STEM events for high school students demonstrated the value of using a career pathway lens for providing pre-employment transition services. Hundreds of students benefited from these events, held at community technical colleges, healthcare employers, and at our VR training center. And with every event, planning and execution involved multiple workforce partners and at least an employer. It all comes down to getting people with disabilities into careers that have room for advancement and are in high-demand sectors. We were more effective at employer engagement when we leveraged the relationships with the workforce partners. The coordinators participated in employer groups, they were included on regional business services teams, and they shared the same data system for employer contacts as the workforce partners. These factors enabled coordinators to organize employer tours and events like reverse job fairs that directly impacted individuals getting hired. This brief chart shows you some of the quantitative outcomes associated with Kentucky's CPID grant. We started serving consumers in 2017 after providing VR agency staff training on career pathways and the grant. VR counselors identified eligible participants in their caseloads and continue to refer. Each subsequent year in this chart represents new increases for that fiscal year. As you can see, gains were seen across the board from individuals entering post-secondary training, industry-recognized credentials earned, individuals completing training and ready for employment, and individuals closed in competitive integrated employment. In the course of this grant, we worked with consumers who were at different points in their vocational rehabilitation, from new applicant to someone completing training and ready to start work. This slide explains Jonathan's IT career pathway. Jonathan lives in Eastern Kentucky and became a VR consumer after high school. He had completed an associate's and bachelor's degree, along with an impressive number of hardware, software, and networking certifications, preparing him to be a computer support technician. Jonathan obviously had potential and motivation, but found himself unemployed well after a year of completing his degree. A Project Case Career Pathways coordinator set to work linking him to services at the Career One-Stop Center. She encouraged him to join workshops and a weekly job club there, and noticed that his participation in these job readiness activities made a big impact on his communication skills and his overall attitude and outlook on finding an IT job in Eastern Kentucky. The coordinator also worked with the VR counselor to provide him further, simple, but important support services, including authorizing for a gas card so he could attend the weekly job club and purchasing clothing for interviews. Through her activities with the business services team, the coordinator was aware of an employer, DoubleQuick, who was looking for computer support for 3 of their locations, and she facilitated an interview for Jonathan with their HR manager. The rest is history. He was hired, and he is still happily employed. In Jonathan's story, and in many others, that transition from post-secondary training into work is a time when the full career pathways model comes into play, after all the formal education has happened. VR and other workforce partners pull together in delivering necessary supports, connections to sector employers, and employability skills training. Using the Career Pathways model for providing VR services makes sense. It's supported by WIOA, and it complements career counseling models we've always worked from that emphasize encouraging career over a job. In order to sustain the knowledge and good outcomes acquired through the grant, we will need to provide continuous staff development around service delivery that encourages in-demand credential attainment and advancement in a career. Job sectors continue to evolve, and workforce partner initiatives continue to change, and this is why staff development around these areas needs to be ongoing. When we surveyed and interviewed our VR counseling staff, they strongly endorsed the work that coordinators performed and the role that they filled as a liaison between education, workforce partners, and VR. How to sustain some of this? Well, members of our employer services branch can incorporate some of those activities that increased employer engagement, such as tours for staff and consumers, a greater focus on coordinating work experiences, and referring more consumers into workforce partner sector-based short-term training. A third point on this slide is to look at our data through a career pathway lens. Often the career pathway coordinators found themselves explaining who and what VR is to employers, educators, and partners. Armed with data, we can explain that we represent skilled, credentialed job seekers, and in fact, the following individuals have completed training and are ready to work: teachers, dental assistants, computer support specialists, RNs, LPNs, electricians, welders, social workers, etc. We can dispel preconceived notions employers and partners may have about the capabilities of people with disabilities, and workforce partners will also better understand our pool of available workers to aid their own efforts at meeting employer hiring needs.
Helga, that's great information for us to consider relative to implementing a career pathways approach. Next up is my colleague Janet Drudick, and she'll speak about Nebraska's Career Pathway Advancement Project, or CPAP.
As Rob previously indicated, Nebraska CPID grant is the upskill backfill model. This was chosen as the CPAP vision to promote autonomy, stability, and economic self-sufficiency achieved by career advancement along a career pathway with a focus on a single, stable, well-paying job with employer-provided benefits to replace the one or many entry-level jobs currently held to make ends meet. The goal is to upskill incumbent workers with businesses they are currently working and backfill with individuals with disabilities from the VR program who want to enter the same career pathway. The CPAP model is a dual customer approach serving both clients and businesses. After developing the relationship with the business to help upskill past successfully closed clients and backfill with VR clients, it helps businesses retain their key talent and assist in filling vacant positions with a qualified candidate with a disability. 301 clients have been served by CPAP. 180 cases have been closed and 121 remain open. 95 clients have closed into competitive integrated employment. Many of these clients have completed short-term industry-recognized credentials. We are anticipating an additional 77 cases will close successfully prior to the September 30th. The reason for the increase in closures the final quarter is due to a large number of the clients still completing training. These training may include anything from a diploma to a PhD. Most are working full-time and attending school part-time, therefore requiring a longer commitment to complete. Wages increased by an average of $387 per week from the time of CPAP application to the time of case closure. Weekly wages at closure were reported as an average $899 per week and median of $780 a week, compared to weekly wages at application reported as an average of $512 per week and median of $520 weekly. 73 out of 95 clients increased the total number of employer-provided benefits from the time of application to time of closure. The number of employer-provided benefits increased by a median count of 2. 17 clients had no change in benefits and 5 had a decrease in benefits. However, this includes clients who had benefited positions at application and maintained those benefits. Of the 95 successfully closed cases, only 4 are employed in non-benefited positions. About a quarter of CPAP clients remain employed at the same business, while most moved into positions with new employers. Since grant inception, there has been ongoing considerations for sustainability and system change. 3 items have been outlined within this area. The first being career advancement as a VR service to job seekers and incumbent workers. VR has the statutory authority to work with individuals with disabilities in advancing in their career. Less clear is whether public VR agencies have advancement in employment as a focus area and have the capacity and alignment of resources to support career advancement as an agency priority. Given limited resources, how should VR agencies prioritize clients seeking career advancement services and supports over other employment needs such as job placement? This is especially challenging for states in an order of selection with a wait list. A consideration could be, does career advancement services for all state VR agencies fall under a separate title similar to the current authority for supportive employment services? The second sustainability and system change is communication and outreach around career advancement as a VR service category. If career advancement is to become a core service provided to job seekers and incumbent workers, it will require reframing a client's view of VR as a one-time service to a career-long engagement that builds on past successes. Thirdly, career advancement as a dual customer strategy is part of the sustainability and systems change. VR agencies should consider offering employers services and supports that promote advancement of incumbent workers with disabilities, including translating VR eligibility information in a way that resonates with businesses and incumbent workers, for example, reframing the word disability. Managing a pipeline of VR applicants generated from business outreach as another entry point to VR, and also developing a mechanism to support employers in backfilling recently vacated positions when an individual advances in their career. This is critical whether the individual advances with the same employer or moves to a new employer.
Janet, those sound like some excellent outcomes. Next up is my colleague Kate Kagi from the Commonwealth of Virginia to speak about the Virginia CPID project.
Thank you, Rob. The goal for CPID here in Virginia is to help Virginians with disabilities from both the Department for Aging and Rehabilitation Services and Department for the Blind and Visually Impaired gain new skills and industry-recognized credentials. To reach our goals, the project hired subject matter experts in vocational evaluation, occupational therapy, business, and education. At the beginning, we addressed 2 industry sectors, modern manufacturing and information technology. To address the interest and skills gap in these areas, we provided exploratory academies, tours, and information sessions to help increase our numbers. Today, we found that the majority of our population is between the ages of 14 to 23, and 85% are most significantly disabled. We have been affected by order of selection and have hired a counselor that works with individuals in delayed status. From this work, we have found that a large majority of people on the delayed list are not taking advantage of partner resources. Virginia has also emphasized a business-driven approach looking at occupations that could secure competitive integrated employment in high-demand, high-growth occupations. To make sure we are meeting the needs of businesses, we have led demand-side meetings, partnered with business associations, and participate in business advisory meetings. The Wilson Workforce and Rehabilitation Center piloted the Manufacturing Technician Training Program, whose instructor had over 20-plus years of manufacturing experience. This business-driven approach has led us to emphasize in-demand trainings and local labor market needs. We emphasize career-specific vocational evaluations, offer contextualized training that is participant-focused that leads to stackable credentials, provide strong supportive services to include occupational therapy, behavioral supports, and sensory evaluations. A loaner library is available that offers employers, educators, and candidates an opportunity to explore technology prior to purchase. We've been working with community colleges and universities on cohort trainings, this option for individuals with disability that includes all the listed supports. We also offer support to the instructors on hidden disabilities, assistive technology, and supports that improve success in the classroom. We have also expanded our credential listing to include logistics, healthcare, construction, and automotive career pathways. CPID was developed to engage partners with system alignment meetings in targeted areas of the state. These meetings allowed us to better understand partners' needs and to increase disability awareness for our partners. What we are seeing is that alone we can't fill the necessary seats for a training program or even provide all the potential employees a business may need, but working together we can. We have seen increased co-enrollment collaborations. VR counselors have taken advantage of adult education training options. There have been additional opportunities for increased inclusion for business teams, and partners are asking for disability awareness and assistive technology overviews. CPID has also partnered with Virginia Manufacturing Association and Northern Virginia Tech Council. Partnering with associations has helped us better understand the needs of employers and helped us highlight the potential abilities of CPID participants, emphasizing that individuals with disabilities could be a viable option to fill their employee pipelines. CPID students and business development managers have also had the opportunity to participate in conferences and other networking opportunities. As you can see from this chart, we are continuing to work toward our goals. We have steadily increased the numbers into career pathway training, credentials attained, and individuals successfully closed. Keep in mind that 2020 is only halfway done. We will have more to add. Our outcomes have also included sustainable practices, which have included VR counselors emphasizing high-demand career pathways and labor market needs in their locality, VR collaborations with WIOA to help braid funding and share resources, continued disability awareness training and assistive technology overviews for both partners and businesses, career exploration in high-demand fields with hands-on academies and targeted vocational evaluations. The Wilson Workforce and Rehabilitation Center now have credentials associated with all training programs, ensuring graduates receive business-recognized credentials. Continued outreach events with workforce groups to include tours, credential fairs, and information sessions. And with order of selection, sharing resources and soft handoffs to partners for individuals on the delayed list. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you so much, Kate, for sharing those valuable experiences. We'd like to point out a few other pieces of information before we close today. The final slide of this presentation includes a link to a 2-page listing of what we consider to be high-quality, relevant, and useful products that could be used when implementing a career pathways approach within a vocational rehabilitation program. And under the Stay Tuned category, we'd like to draw your attention to 2 items. First, each of my colleagues is in the process of putting the finishing touches on extensive toolkits developed as a part of their respective projects. Finally, please be aware that as a part of the Virtual Results Conference, the CPID projects will be developing another in-depth webinar this summer. The in-depth webinar will focus on tying career pathways to the VR continuum of services. This webinar will also include information on expanding partnerships with workforce and business partners. In addition to this in-depth webinar, please feel free to experience any of the recorded webinars we make mention of in the 2-page resource listing. Slide 36 contains email contact information for each of our wonderful presenters today. In closing, We want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this webinar. This final slide also includes the link to the informational documents referenced in the presentation.